great down here in Tennessee. We don't need y'all to talk about us because we're going to talk about ourselves.
Welcome back in, ladies and gents. Once again, this is Titans Tube. I am Justin, and with me is Jake. And we went on a bit of a hiatus, Jake. We did not come out with a video after whatever happened in Detroit. Not sure. Something happened. I think a football game was played. Titans come back with a loss, and then we actually get a win. We get a win against the also struggling big-time New England Patriots. So currently, Jake, we're sitting at 2-7. What do we say here? What are we talking about? A smattering. If we're just throwing this out there for the draft talk, a smattering of teams with only 2 wins on the season, which is interesting. So there's a lot to play out here. I mean, we could pick number 1 overall, or we could pick number 10 overall. There's a wide gap to move up and down if you're already starting to pay attention to that stuff. But we're going to try to keep it on the here and now, Jake. Just a rough season, rough going for the Tennessee Titans and the fans this year. So, I guess we could start off with this, and I'll throw it to you. But we haven't had a video since the other big trade that we made.
Yep.
DeAndre Hopkins going off to the Kansas City Chiefs. Hat tip. I'm pretty sure, that was – we have not talked about that.
I don't think we have, no.
But, great Titan, dude. An actual successful veteran receiver signing for this franchise. Gave us a 1,000-yard season. Slow going this year, but it's nice to see him happy going to a contender. And he of course, gave props to the Titans with his touchdown dance with the – remember the Titans – thing, and he tweeted later to confirm that it was all about respect. Love Tennessee. So a great Titan. Love you, DeAndre. We wish you could have stayed here and retired here, but we understand. Go get you a ring. But I mean, the Chiefs not rooting for it. I got to be honest, not rooting for that ring for DeAndre. I don't want to see the Chiefs win again. Anyway,
absolutely.
Jake,
I just wanted to say, it was a rough week there, Justin. Obviously, you mentioned the disaster in Detroit, and then DeAndre Hopkins getting shipped out, and obviously putting up 2 touchdowns on Monday Night Football, just as to add his name to the list of former Titans that were in the Vrabel regime that have moved on, been shipped out, and completely started balling out for their new teams. I mean, you could even go to the Charger, Elijah Molden, who we're playing this week, who has been playing at a high level for them. I mean, you can Christian Fulton, DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry. The list goes on and on and on, Justin. But yeah, for sure. I like that you mentioned he was maybe the only successful old man receiver signing for this franchise who is known for picking up old elite wide receivers. I mean, you could say Andre Johnson was a success, but he only gave him like 6 games or something. But anyways, all that to say, hat tip DeAndre Hopkins. Love the way he embraced the city of Nashville. Love the way he embraced the Titans culture. Sadly, he couldn't be a veteran to be there to help kind of turn the ship around in the new era. But like you said, good for him for going to a contender, and good for him for hat tipping the Titans back with the Remember the Titans dance. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, cool to see for sure. We're leaning on Nick Westbrook-Akina, for the rest of the way out. He could never not ascend to being the number 1 receiver on this team. It's inevitable. But anyway, we shall see this week, Jake. You mentioned before coming on, we could see. I feel like it's been a long time since we've seen Will Levis taking snaps for this team. It's been Mason Rudolph for the past three-ish games. So maybe some more evaluation there. We'll see how he looks against the Chargers. So I don't know. What do you think with Levis potentially returning and playing without Lloyd Cushenberry, who unfortunately, and you hate to see this, Jay, because the offense, I think, the offensive line was starting to gel a little bit better over the past, 3, 4, 5 games, not giving up as many sacks and pressures. And I think Lloyd Cushenberry was a big part of that. He was really starting to come around and tie this line down for us. But it'll be, I guess, Corey Levin, snapping the ball back to Levis. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, we can give Levis a chance to stand back there and make some plays. You'd hate to see him just constantly on the run again, which is what he's been doing a lot this year. For better, for worse. He needs to play better, but yeah, it would be nice to see some protection and give him a chance back there.
Absolutely. I like that you said that. A little bit of positivity here, Justin. If you think back to the Will Levis game against the Indianapolis Colts, it was the first time in 4 seasons that the Titans had not allowed a single sack in a game, and it didn't matter. And so I'm going to take your positivity and spin that with the Will Levis possibly coming back storyline, and that I'm not holding my breath, Justin. Even if he does get time, even if he does have the resources and the game plan, which I'm not, again, it's tough to, get up for this team, especially with Will Levis at the helm, because we've seen him be the sole reason the Titans are losing games. And the Titans are at least going out there and putting together some semblance of a cohesive football team with Mason Rudolph out there. I mean, it's not sexy. It's not flashy. They're not lighting up the scoreboard, but they're not having boneheaded turnovers, boneheaded mistakes. They're at least being normal, I guess, so to speak. Anyways, I wanted to
thing.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the one thing you could say that's boneheaded and pretty troubling that we're seeing way too consistently, a big talking point is probably going to be the special teams unit, and what in the world is Colt Anderson doing back there? And what he's what is he even doing coaching this football team still? Does he should even have a job at this point? But yeah, if that's where you're going, I'll throw it right back to you, Jake. With special teams is a joke.
We had the last 2 weeks we've been off, doing these videos, Justin. This coaching staff and Brian Callahan specifically has come into my scope. If you think back to the Detroit game, obviously, I mean, horrible. How do you give up 52 points and Jared Goff is hardly throwing for 100 yards? There's something completely broken in that reality. I mean, the Titans were competitive in the first quarter of that game. They were matching, it was a shootout in Motor City. And all of a sudden, the special team starts leaking and they just turned into a fire hose, a comedy of errors. And I was shocked, Justin. I was shocked that Cole Anderson was not fired after that game. I mean, it was we've had some abysmal special teams debacles over the years. That was up there among the crown jewels on the Mount Rushmore of Titans special teams failures. And it's unbelievable that Brian Callahan kept him around. And I also think – go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. But speaking of former Titans under the Vrabel regime, Khalif Raymond lighting us up on these returns.
Yeah, add it to the list. Add it to the list.
Add him to the list. We saw it firsthand with him. That was upsetting. But, he's found a lot of success with Detroit, so good for him. But, the former Titans not taking it easy on us here.
No.
But,
absolutely
continue. Yes.
So, unbelievable that kind of performance, especially in these first 9 weeks, and now that Detroit game was just the cherry on top of a shit Sunday, Justin. And it's unbelievable that he's still here. And I want to pair that decision to keep Cole Anderson around, Justin, with something that, I mean, it was a huge talking point, but everybody didn't care anymore because it was a complete blowout in Detroit. The Titans have 1st and goal at the 1, Justin. And the game is still competitive. They're down 2 touchdowns, I think. I think it was 28-14 at this point. I mean, a touchdown gets you back into this football game.
Yeah.
1st and
goal. And we get
the
ball back after kickoff or after halftime, I'm pretty sure, right? So, yeah.
1st and goal at the 1. Brian Callahan's offense musters up 4 straight passes 0 points. First and goal at the 1, and you walked away with 0 points, 4 straight passes when Tony Pollard is the best player on your offense, Justin. Easily. He is easily the best player on the offense. Like, you almost want to say, like, does Brian Callahan have Detroit Lions, minus 10.5 here or something? Because that is ridiculous. That is coaching malpractice. That is, and then they doubled down with the offensive coordinator saying, we felt good about it and presented with the opportunity, we do it again. And, Brian Callahan's out there saying after the New England win that, our special teams are really starting to contribute to this football team and things like that. And it's just week after week after week, you can point to several different things with this coaching staff and the way that they're being led in this Brian Callahan era is just not even close. It's not even close.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you something, Justin. This was another talking point. I know we're kind of doing a quick bullet point list of talking points. I want to get your opinion on Brian Callahan choking up in the presser after the New England game and saying how
I don't know if I saw that.
You didn't see that?
I don't think so, but I'll give
I'll
give a take.
I'll give the synopsis. He gives his post-game speech and he talks about how, hard the team works, and he talks about Tony Pollard being the model of success on this football team. And Buck Rising asked him a question. I can't remember. He kind of sensed there was a little break in his voice, and Buck Rising hops on that and asks a follow-up question. And Brian Callahan's like with misty eyes, like, we needed this win bad. I needed it. We needed it bad. And I needed it bad. And that was a big thing in the Twitter sphere, whatever have you, that, very humanizing moment for Brian Callahan, who has had an absolute disaster start to his head coaching career in the NFL. Absolute disaster. I understand the emotion. I understand the frustration and being able to push through, get an overtime win, and be resilient. But my thing, Justin, like we saw it with Dan Campbell in his first year at the Detroit Lions. They were really bad. They were 0-10 or something, and he cries at his presser and he talks about how much he cares about the players and whatnot. So I see the parallels there, but you have to zoom out a little bit. And it wasn't like they went and beat the Chiefs on the road, or, it's some kind of big divisional win to get them back into something. Justin, they beat the worst team in the NFL at home and it took them overtime to do it. And going from a guy like Mike Vrabel, who is as stoic and
tough
as nails as they come, and not to say he didn't show emotion in some locker room speeches and the Ben Jones moment and all of that, but it feels different. It feels, I don't know. What is your take on that? And him
like unearned.
Unearned.
You don't get to be sad and crying about a win yet. All right. Yeah.
It's a tough balance between the humanizing moment of it all, and we understand that these are real people trying to do real jobs, but also zoom out and know that you're the leader of this locker room and a leader of a franchise, and you beat the worst team in the league, and you're like, we needed that bad. Like I feel like that's
now
not
we're
the
on
same optics as a Dan Campbell or a Mike Vrabel, Ben Jones moment.
I can see it, being like a exhaling, finally, breath of fresh air. I can understand the job is very intense and lots of pressure week in and week out, and dealing with the media, dealing with the criticism and hate and people calling for your job, and maybe the ugly things, the ugly messages he's seeing people send him. I don't know if he has a Twitter account. That's probably good if he doesn't. It's just the stress of the job. And then finally, you got one after 3 really, really bad games and putting in countless hours of work. He might be up until 3, 4, 5 a.m. game planning, not sleeping. So, I get you. I'm trying to see that humanizing side of it too. But yeah, I know. I think I agree with you. It's like yeah, zoom out and just see. You've got your second win, and we appreciate you. Caring this much and putting in all the work into it, and I like that. But like toughen up, Buttercup. No, that's bad.
No, that was a very split thing, in the conversation. I'm surprised you hadn't seen it on Reddit or Twitter or anything, but it was a very split conversation in that, toughen up. I mean, it's the NFL, man. The expectation is to win football games, especially against really bad teams at home, and you shouldn't need overtime to do it. But it's such a flip flop of the coin. I'm a real fence sitter. I feel like we're both kind of sitting on this fence of like, we get it. And I like that you mentioned, he's probably up super late hours. And I mean, the stress and just the expectation and the weight carrying an NFL franchise. Only 32 guys in the world have this responsibility and, ownership of the team.
And I think there's a disconnect a little bit too with the fans, because we've been talking about this for weeks now, how we're kind of emotionally checked out of this team and this season. And then we see our coach winning, and he's so emotional and shedding tears. It's like, okay, dude, we're 2-7, not a big deal, but yeah, good job. There seems to we're not feeling that emotion with this team that he is right now, because we're trying to, as fans, kind of resonate with it and trying to see what we have and trying to see what we can build on. But it's still just like, Titans are on. I mean, I don't know. Are we even going to score 17 points this game? Let's tune in and see what Derrick Henry and the Ravens are doing instead. I don't know. I just feel a little detached from the wins and losses. I mean, I'm rooting for us to win. I'll always root for the team to win, regardless of what it does to your draft stock. You want to feel good, and the players always care about winning over anything, as well as the coaches. So you root for them to win and do well, but it's still like, having a coach getting that emotional to where the fans are just like, can we just focus on next year at this point for the most part, and we don't care as like that.
Yeah, and I feel like there was, I obviously was not a Detroit Lions follower 3 years ago when Dan Campbell had his similar moment, but I feel like there was a big difference, and I'm glad you kind of brought that point up. There is a fundamental disconnect from Titans fans and this current regime right now, because it's gone so spectacularly awful in the first, however long we're in, 8 games right now.
Yeah.
That we're not, it's, usually when we saw the Mike Vrabel, Ben Jones home, that was really emotional for a lot of Titans fans, because we knew what Ben Jones meant to this team, and we knew what he was going through, and we knew, Mike Vrabel, being as stoic as he is, breaking down with that and having a human moment like that. That was big. And I'm sure, Dan Campbell played for Detroit. He comes back to Detroit to try and turn the ship around. And he's just an emotional guy overall. And I feel like Detroit was with him there. The fans were with him there. And the Titans fans aren't with Brian Callahan. And that just sucks. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
But it's just the reality of the situation. You have a really bad football team that's 2-6, who is poorly coached. Mind you, that Titans fans don't have a lot of sympathy for Brian Callahan. They don't have a lot of sympathy for any of this coaching staff. Maybe, Wilson, the DC, but he's going to get plucked up and get a head coaching job somewhere this offseason. So don't get too attached to him. And it's just the cycle of suckiness, Justin. You're the optimist, and you're talking about, emotionally checked out, and, but I'll root for him. But that's just the reality of the situation.
Anybody, hit me up if anybody wants to go to any games. My tickets are on the block, on the trade block. And one more thing before we move on, talking about getting emotional in regards to this team. I don't know if you remember, but after the Cincinnati Bengals playoff loss, there was an interview. I think I don't know. It was sometime during the offseason, and somebody was interviewing J-Rob, and I think he was evaluating players or something somewhere else. It was kind of an unofficial setting, but they asked him about the playoff loss and coming back from that. And I remember he was breaking down and getting emotional because he was so devastated by that loss. And I think that was when everybody was on board with J-Rob. That was pre AJ Brown trade and all the draft picks really starting to become busts that started spiraling. But he was definitely a fan favorite GM at that point. And I connected with that. I was like, man, yeah, I feel you, J-Rob, because he put in so much good work for us early on and built that core foundation of the roster that got us that #1 AFC seed and all that. And seeing him get emotional trying to address that playoff loss in question. Yeah, I felt that. I felt that in my heart for J-Rob, because that was one of the more devastating losses I've seen as a Titans fan. So yeah, just different levels of seeing your coaches and staff get emotional after a win or a loss. It's like, Callahan, what if? Yeah, I don't. You got to earn my emotional attachment, and I'm not there with you yet. But,
and a win against the lowly #1 picking Patriots in overtime is just not going to move the needle very much. And as much as that sucks, and as much as I want to feel for you, Brian Callahan, it's just been that kind of year, Justin. Do you want to go to? Sure. I mean, you alluded it to her earlier. I would like to provide you with a Derrick Henry checkup on his Hall of Fame resume, on how things are going. Because, Justin, we are making some hay. Since our last video, Derrick Henry has eclipsed 100 rushing touchdowns. Love that. Gotta love that. He was already at 100 touchdowns total, but he finally gets over the hump to have 100 rushing touchdowns alongside his 10,000 yards. Chin up, King. Your crown is falling. He's the 9th running back to ever pair 10,000 yards and 100 touchdowns. So exclusive club there. Justin, he has sneakily moved to 8th all time in rushing touchdowns. He needs 5 more rushing touchdowns to eclipse Jim Brown. I mean, we're starting to talk about some Mount Rushmore elite company, and he needs 9
Everybody
more.
ahead of him is probably in the Hall of Fame. Like everyone ahead of him on maybe rushing yards and touchdown rushes is a Hall of Famer. So yeah, he's right there in that group. He is meeting them with these numbers he's putting up.
Absolutely. Ascending to elite status. And I was just going to put a bow on that. 5 more to pass Jim Brown, 9 more rushing touchdowns to pass Walter Payton and move into top 5 all time. I mean, we knew Derrick Henry was an all-time great, at least in terms of Titans lore. But this season is really shooting him into the stratosphere of Hall of Fame legendary running backs. And he might be the last of his kind, Justin. The way the NFL is going, you're not going to see very many 10,000-yard rushers or 100 touchdown rushers. I mean, the only other one in the modern era, I guess you could say LaDainian Tomlinson back with the Chargers, and then Adrian Peterson's run of his career, which was I'm not here to nitpick but that was a little padded by some late career stints. Adrian Peterson just kind of stuck around and bounced around teams. Who's to say Derrick Henry doesn't do the same thing? But I mean,
Frank Gore had a crazy long career.
Frank Gore also, and so just to see, what Derrick Henry, knowing what he meant we're more emotionally attached to Derrick Henry's Hall of Fame resume, Justin, than we are to our own crying head coach. That's the way this season has gone. This is what the Titans are doing to us.
Yeah, for sure. It's fun to see and watch Derrick Henry keep climbing the ranks there. And he might be in that top 5 rushing by the end of the season. He scored touchdowns in every single game this year. I don't know what the record is, but it's been 11 games, 10 games at least, where he started out the season. Man, with the rushing touchdown every single game, or just a touchdown. I know he's caught a few, but either way, it's incredibly impressive what he's been doing. it kind of pivoting from him talking about the Ravens, dude. I don't know. I don't know if they can do it this year in terms of the Super Bowl. They lost to the Browns, and they've been struggling. They struggle on defense against. I feel like I hate it for Derek, but I feel like a playoff choke is coming for the Ravens. I keep getting that vibe. They've beaten some really good teams, but I don't know. As a Titans fan, Ravens, hand the ball off to Henry in the postseason. Don't abandon Derrick Henry, especially when he's playing like this. Don't get cute. Don't take the ball out of his hands. I know Lamar Jackson's having an MVP season, but I saw this man run for almost 200 yards in back-to-back games in Baltimore and back in 2019, mind you. So I don't know. We'll see where that team goes, but either way, it's fun to see Derrick run wild. Yeah. It's
been
great.
a bright spot. It's been a bright spot this season. What are Titans fans to do, Justin, other than tune in and watch Derrick Henry? I mean, yeah, I know we've gotten a few comments here and there. I don't want to hear about the Ravens. I don't want to hear about Derrick Henry. Do you want to hear about the Titans? No, I don't want to hear about the Titans. We don't want to talk about the Titans.
We don't. Yeah. You wanted to.
What is there to talk about?
If y'all missed us for the 52-14 loss to Detroit, one of the worst losses in franchise history. Guys, what are we doing out here? Like, it's not that important that we get out here and talk about this stuff. I don't mean to push away our viewers and subscribers. That's not a good look. That's just I'm
cracking up.
I don't know. We love and appreciate everyone who watches us ramble and gap about this.
Of course.
Mean, I love having you guys tune in to cope and talk with us. And I take it back. I'm sorry we didn't come back and wallow in our misery with you last week against Detroit. But we won this week, so we're gonna mix it in with some positivity.
And we talked for maybe about 30 seconds about the New England game, and a good solid 5 minutes on Derrick Henry's season this year.
How about also? Let's see. Let's say this. Looking forward to the Chargers game. I want to see some consistency from this team and specifically this coaching staff in a full game. I know we scored in the second half against New England, but it feels like we start out pretty hot in these games.
Always.
And we score. We put up points in the first quarter, even on the road against Detroit. It was probably our only points of the whole game. But man, I want to be able to see some in-game coaching adjustments. I feel like Callahan keeps getting out-coached in a lot of these games. The opposition 100%. Figures out what they're doing and what we're doing, and they make adjustments, and then we just get stuck, and we can't move the ball anymore. Even on defense, we're giving up drives here and there that we weren't in the first half of games. So I want to see some consistency watching this team come Sunday. And I know the Chargers are playing good football. They're a good team. They got themselves a new head coach he's been a successful head coach in the NFL in the past with the 49ers, but they have a quality head coach. They're seeing immediate results now with him at the helm. So we'll see what we got. But it would be nice to see a little more consistency from the offense, especially throughout this game. Can we put up points in every quarter? Is that impossible?
Can we win 2 games in a row, perhaps, Justin? Just one time back-to-back wins in the last 2 years. Like. I mean, good God, I don't think we've done it in the past 2 seasons. You'd have to go back to the 22 season when they were 7-3, and then that's when the cliff fall off happened. And also, Justin, it's worth pointing out for Titans fans who are still here. This is about the last stand for the Titans playoff push, Justin. I know you probably weren't thinking this, and I know a lot of fans aren't thinking this, but look around the league, Justin. Look around the AFC. Not a lot of good teams. That playoff wildcard race for those 3 slots, it's including the Jets. It's including the 4-win Bengals. If the Titans can go to LA and get this win over the current 7 seed, Los Angeles Chargers, you might get an eyebrow raise, and the Titans might only be 2 games back from a wild card spot, 2.5 games back. And you never know.
Could happen.
You never know, Justin. When the Titans were 2-4 in 2019, you would have bet your entire house that the Titans were done and cooked, put a fork in them. The NFL is a weird mistress, and things happen. But I'm just
I
trying to
didn't think
bring a
about it.
little fun optimism. This could be the last stand. The Titans currently have a 4% chance to make the playoffs. With a win, it goes up to about 8 to 10%. And so that's what
Ooh,
I'm saying.
double percentage.
Get a little eyebrow raise.
Okay. I
Maybe if
thought
we start stacking a couple of wins, get one here and there, balls bounce our way a little more. You never
we got a
know.
couple games against the Jags. You know, the Bengals have taken a lot of L's. Colts again, who already beat us.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm impressed we're not mathematically eliminated yet. I kind of assumed we were, but no. There's you're telling me there's a chance. As long as there is a non-zero number by our playoff chances, you can't count us out. Can't count out the Titans. Anything could happen.
I know it's a long shot, but just something fun to watch for this Chargers game, and hopefully Houston can take another loss. And I mean, the Titans might only be 2-3 games back in the division too. I know it's going to be
get
a
an
long hill
AFC
to
South
climb.
championship, Jake.
Even
Let's
if
go
we
ahead and get that
there,
division title.
Now,
Have
Brian
right where we want
Callahan
them.
can sob real tears if they win the AFC South, and I would too.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah, I like that.
I would be with him there. Justin, do you have anything else to take us to the barn for this weekly session that we do?
The session. I think I'm good. I think we've covered it. Any news we might have missed? Injuries or team news or I don't
think
know.
so.
No.
Snead is out another game. L'Jarius Sneed is just kind of given
like,
up.
what have I
maybe.
done?
Yeah,
Why did I join
exactly.
this team?
What did I do?
Why can't I get traded?
Can you send me back to Kansas City?
Yeah, right.
But
But
anyways,
I think I'm good. Yeah, we'll see. We'll tune. I'll tuning in Chargers. See what we got there. If Will Levis plays, it'll be interesting. To watch him play. We kind of know what we got with Rudolph, but at least with Levis, there's potential for a higher ceiling still. That
there's a chaos factor.
There's the chaos factor. I want to see him dive and do helicopters for meaningless first downs halfway through the first quarter. That would be really entertaining.
Gotta love it. Well, we said, we appreciate y'all so much for coming on here, listening to us ramble. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Keep your heads up, Titans fans. Not mathematically eliminated yet. Let's go to LA. Let's get back in this race. Even if it is at the very bottom of the race, we'll still be in it. And we appreciate y'all. Tighten up as always.
Tighten up.